all of you, thank all of you participants for being here. I deeply appreciate that. And um, and as I keep saying, the mission statement for Orinoco Flows community is about connecting mothers and their families to their child star. That is the whole focus about what we are about. So, at times people ask me, so why is that so important, Rex? And well, I just see how simple it is. And it's something that is constantly there in our lives. And it has become a big passion and has grown for me over the last 10 years. But as you listen and you participate, you'll find out and discover more yourself. This evening, with the meditation, we are just before a full moon. The full moon would be in some hours in most places of the world. And I want to engage with the full moon on the Orinoco River. But before we do that, it's important to connect with our bodies in a space of feeling a sense of letting go, feeling a sense of allowing at the back of our navels. The navel is our connection back to our mother and back into our whole DNA line. So just have a sense of letting go at the back of your navel. In your imagination, no willpower. A softening in the arches of your feet, so allowing you to feel wherever you're sitting, wherever you are, to feel a sense of comfort being on the earth. And within that, have a sense just in your imagination also to be at the start of that river, right where that well, that spring of water is arising. And with the moon overhead, of course, we speak about the moonlight. But here this evening, here this afternoon, some places, I want to speak about it as regards another listening that we can have for the moon. And in the listening, I'm not speaking only about your ears, I'm also speaking about your skin. As the river flows and the water flows, and the moon has such a large impact on that water, it also has a big impact on us from a place of listening. And for that to occur, for that deeper listening to occur in our being, we invite and we ask for the moon to support the water in our being, the water and the blood in our life, to drop away that toxicity, that pollution that we carry within ourselves mentally, feeling of letting go of that in our minds, that toxic way of at times seeing ourselves, seeing our world. We invite the moon, its light, the sound of its light, the sound of water, to drop that away from us. We also invite the moon and that water element to also dissolve the sense of pollution and toxicity that is there emotionally for us. Our reactions of feeling upset, our actions of feeling angry, our responses of being worried. We ask for those polluted feelings to just drop away as they don't really serve us. As we connect deeper with the water element and we embrace it, that deeper listening starts amplifying in our being. We ask for permission to ourselves to grant that, to grant another way of listening to the moon and its messages, to water and its sound, even when we are having a shower, even when we are having a bath, even when we are washing the dishes. The sound of the water has deep connections to our DNA, have deep connections to our whole sense of being, has deep connections to our child star. We give thanks this full moon day for these blessings that we have asked for the Orinoco River and its healing potential and its healing presence. We give thanks for having access to that. And we allow these connections and with this deeper listening to also take us down back to our parents, back to our grandparents, back to our relatives, those who have passed on, carrying so much wisdom within their being, and we ask for us to have access to that level of guidance, to that level of healing, and we give thanks. Thank you very much, full moon. Thank you very much, water. Thank you very much, Orinoco River. Thank you very much for our capacity to listen at this deeper level. We give thanks. Thank you. As we leave the meditation, just allow yourself to feel yourself back in the room wherever you are sitting, wherever you are in front of your screen, and just feel yourself being at ease here this evening on this Wednesday in December. Thank you very much. Yes. Thanks for the listening and allowing yourself to participate in this. This evening in my chat with Birgit, I'm going to sorry.
I don't know if I can hear you.
You're not hearing me?
Now I am, yeah.
No, okay, you wanted to say something, Christiana?
Oh, yeah, Karen's saying yes. I thought your voice was moving and I wasn't hearing you.
Oh, okay, okay.
This full moon must be the day for technical difficulties.
We don't have to bless it that way, but seeing we have to dance with it, we are asking for its graces to be given to us. Okay, so this evening in my chat with Birgit, there's a part of our chat where I will be chatting about something called the adult star. We haven't spoken about that, but it's part of the dynamics of the whole 9-star key system. And I will explain more of that, but that aspect, okay, is given from the year in which you were born. It could have a certain element about it. And at times in high stress situations, well, what I've observed in the past in my research was that if someone was a child living in a war zone, and I mean where bombs and people were dying was happening, the child star element shifts to the adult star because a sense of instinctive responsibility for being alive happens. This also happens like if one was an orphan or whatever, these sorts of things, the adult star would tend to be activated and the child star wouldn't tend to be present. There are certain stress experiences that Birgit's children went through, and she observed certain things which I never realized could happen in such a short space of time. So we will talk about some of that, and I'll explain more as our chat goes on. But so you'll hear a bit about the adult star. Okay. Birgit is a mother of 4 children, massage therapist, doula, comes originally from Estonia, taught mathematics and physics, has a lot of experience and also has been very involved with the Zazen practice. She comes on the Saturday morning to sit with me. And so there's a lot of insight she has given me over the last few years with some things that have gone on. So thank you for being here, Birgit.
Yes, thank you.
I first want to ask about what is the key observation you have observed with your 4 children as regards the child star? What can you say? Because, you know, they have different child stars, although 2 of them have the same 8 Earth child star. But what can you tell us about that? Just your observations of some things that you have seen.
Yes. My first child, who is born 2008, 30 May, she's 8 child star with 1 water adult star. And with her, I have observed that she has been interested in those mystical things and also mythological things. She was really interested in Japanese mythology and just by herself, like exploring it, for example. And yes, and she also, she has been really interested in this musical field. And she has also been seeing like interesting dreams.
In what way
yes,
you mean
which
that?
I have shared. And also like about, which I shared with Rex earlier about her dream where she sees like kind of connecting with animals or spirit animals and also kind of sometimes prophetic dreams, the things that can happen, for example, next day. And yes, and she has also been interested reading a lot, and she has been visiting a library a lot. And also my youngest son, he also has the pattern of 8 Earth child star, and he has 7 adult star, 7 metal adult star, and he's still so young, so I don't know. He looks at books and he's a bit interested in those, but for him I cannot maybe say so much, I think.
Okay, thank you, Birgit, about that. And when you speak about her, your first darling, your daughter, when you speak about her interest in anthropology or animals, or are there certain sort of research she then wants to do, in the sense of go to the library or go online, or what happens?
She has done some research in library, also online, that she checks and reads about those things. And then she was also drawing, for example. She also likes drawing, and she was drawing this a lot. This 5 what was it? It's a fox with 9 tails.
Okay.
They're like in Japanese mythology, those like demons or something, and then good. I'm not so into it, so I don't know so much about it. But then some kind of demons, and yes, she was like drawing them.
Okay. One needs to realize that her daughter was born in Estonia, Estonian parents, and this is a level of interest living here in Finland that is into these sort of mythical types of stories from Japan. And also, Birgit didn't mention this, but when I first started to do Zazen, her daughter used to come to sit with us on Saturday mornings. This is like, you know, a 12-year-old young girl coming to Zazen, not out of any demands from her mother or not from any expectations on my side, but this was happening. This was the 8th Earth child star, and its way of approaching life. And of course, in that age group, in this particular generation we're living in, that's a big surprise to me. But so it keeps, on my side, observing all of these things, it's like, Rex, you got to tell the world about these things. Yes, you've written books, but you got to start being more proactive and sharing it and having real life situations with people to chat about them and hear their stories and like present, I guess one could say, the evidence. So yeah. Was there some question that was out there that somebody wanted to ask? I saw. No? Okay. Okay. But there, at some time during this year, 2022, there was some high stress that went on in your family situation. And yeah, from what you told me, there was a big impact on your children. And you want to, is that okay for you to share a bit about how that was for you or for the children?
Yeah, it was about that me and their father, we separated, and it was a really stressful time for both me and him and for all the family. I think the children, especially when they're so young, they pick up a lot, and they also feel this like energy at home. So it was, which I noticed was especially about my 3 youngest children. Maybe not so much my oldest one. She was pretty like understanding already, and maybe because of her maturity and her age. But for example, my son, who is 11 years old, he's born 4th January 2011, and he's 1 water child star and 8 earth as an adult star. So for him, I noticed like he started to ask, which he normally doesn't do. He was suddenly became interested about ancestors and asking about our ancestors and their names and what they were doing, and it was really surprising for me. It's like I felt that he was kind of switching from his child star into adult star.
Okay, just slow down there a bit for me, please. Thank you for sharing that, Birgit. So what Birgit is explaining is that in that split in the family with her partner and the breakup of that partnership, the impact on the children, well, the 3 youngest children, was that there was a switching that started to go on with how they were functioning from the child star, i.e., because they're children and emotionally that is where we're really coming from, to having to instinctively being now responsible for their own life because of this trauma in the family situation. This was new for me. I know about it from, as I mentioned before, like, children growing up in a war zone, or their parents died, it would switch, or it can also switch if there is child abuse. In other words, the child is not being cared for and there's child abuse. And that can have many forms. Child abuse could be sexual, but it could also be ritual, i.e. you're a dumb, stupid child and being told that all the time. That's ritual abuse, which can switch the child to the adult star. But in a short period of time, in when that was going on in Birgit's family, when she told me that, I hadn't heard that before. I had no recognition that such a shift can show up so quickly in just in a few days, like that's happened. Although she is there, they're getting food and all of those things. So this is what Birgit is talking about. I'm mentioning this because there are so many dimensions to the whole 9-star key system and our emotions and our social life. And so rather than it's only one thing, and it has many aspects that impacts all areas of our life, once we can sort of connect with the dynamics of what it represents. Okay. Sorry, Birgit. I just needed to, you know, to
Mhm.
at least put, you know, give some bigger explanations about that.
Mhm.
Okay, so that was Silver. Okay, and so he went from his one water child
Mhm.
to more to the 8 earth, where he was asking you about
Mhm.
grandparents and ancestors and what they did and whatever, which
Yes.
didn't happen before.
No, it didn't happen before, but it was not a long time up period. It was pretty much like the day, like when we told that we are going to separate, and probably it was so much like for him to handle, and he was the one who really wanted us to stay together, and he was like really like, and I think it was like kind of traumatizing for him, and
Oh, for sure.
so much to handle. But later on, it was it was the next day. He was like so curious and asking about those questions, and then it disappeared. But for my youngest one, who is eight Earth child
8
star
earth child with a 7
and
metal adult.
seven metal. But for him, it was, which I noticed that he had those and this really warm, nice, like merino wool cover, like under the clothes during the winter time, and he didn't want to take it off. It was feeling so nice, and it was like so weird because it was also like in that daycare they told that they cannot take it off from him. It was like for me also I observed that it's like switching into this metal.
Sure. Okay. This seven metal personality, the kinesthetic aspect is a big part, is a big aspect for them. In other words, the sense of touch, the quality of touch. So even in the adult star, a 7 metal adult star, the kinesthetic aspect is still a dominant aspect in their life. And in her youngest child, Sander, um, he wanted to keep on these things close to his skin. He didn't want to give it up, which is very much like the 7 metal. Whereas with the 8 earth, this was not a need that he had. But when this trauma was going on, this was what went on, which is like switching into the adult star expression.
And it lasted about maybe a couple of months, and then now
So for
it's
him,
okay,
it
like
lasted some months.
it was like it was a longer time for him.
Okay. Okay.
It was because when we decided to separate until we actually like moved apart, it was like 5 months or more than 5 months, which we were still living together, and it was all the time like kind of, I don't know, the atmosphere was pretty stressful in home.
Sure.
And yes, and then also my third child, who has she's born on 22nd of May 2018, so she's a two Earth as a child star, and then 9 Fire as an adult star. For her was also like there were more like those turmoils, and it's more like this shouting, screaming, and everything, like, which I also noticed. That
Sure. The demanding, because you had mentioned that at one stage she screamed so loud that the neighbors called the police.
Yes.
Now,
this is what
for
they talked about.
Finland, that's very rare that neighbors call the police here in Finland. So that shouting would have had to be at a level of decibels that I don't know what went on, because it's not something that you hear about in Finland, really. So and this is like her 2 earth, the 2 earth child star becoming the 9 fire, which is like the attention,
Yes.
being in the bright lights, standing up, and it's like whatever, it's terrible or it's wonderful or whatever. So anyway, so
And it
yeah,
took some
Birgit did
time
mention that to me,
to
some months ago. So yeah.
yes, and yeah, it took some time to calm her down. And of course, when the police arrived, it was like all was calm and everything was okay. They just checked and they left, and it was like nothing more. But yeah.
And so what would be your, I mean, looking at that, those experiences, And of course, I haven't asked you any of this, but also looking at your work, I mean, what is the clear distinction that you get from engaging with the child star, or what can you tell us about the child star just from your experience that sort of, how best to put it, that just clicks?
Yeah. Okay. What do I need to answer now? That's what is.
Say again, Birgit.
What do you mean that you want to know?
Well, I mean in the sense, I mean in the sense of the, from the experiences you've had with your children, and also while you do the massage work with clients, what sort of stands out for you about the child star? What is it that you sort of can immediately pick up on or get a sense of with a person, like how they talk or what they're asking or their attitude, or what's on your side? What sort of comes up for you?
It's like many different things which I have noticed about, especially when the person is connected to the child star. For example, if I take 4 wood child star, the clients with this pattern, if they're connected, they really need to communicate. And I feel that they don't come really to massage, they more can come to communicate.
So
this is more important. So there is this communication throughout the whole treatment.
Okay, so this is okay. Slow this down. So this is like so clients who carry the 4 wood child star, they have a greater need to talk about things.
Yes. For example, I have one person who is 4 wood child star and 2 earth adult star. And he always comes and he always talks throughout the whole session, and he needs to discuss about everything what's happening in his life. And it's all like he has been coming to me already 2 years, and it's every month.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting. This whole thing about the communication. By the way, the greatest, the biggest selling author in the world is Agatha Christie, who's a double 4 wood personality. She carries 4 wood twice. A lot of Nobel Prize winners for literature often have the 4 wood as a dominant aspect of, their child star. Okay, go ahead. Was there some questions from the audience, or somebody wanted to say something? No?
Well, Rex, I'll just interrupt here. Maybe I'll take off the spotlight for a second so we can see everybody. But Karen had put in the chat that it was interesting that we know we're going to put up this chart later about the adult star and how it differentiates between the child star. Maybe you can just reiterate for us right now as an interlude how you differentiate, like when a child reverts to their adult star. Okay. What is it that you recommend to your clients to do to nourish the child star, and why? Why do you need to nourish the child star for a child who reverts to the adult? And when is it healthy for a child to transition into the adult star being?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And the details with all of this and the depth of all of this is something which is part of the community, which is, a big focus for us next year. But in chatting with the dynamics of what Birgit has brought up in the chat, and what she has gone through this year and what she has seen with the children, basically the child star is active from birth up until like around 17, 18 years of age, when it starts transitioning naturally into the adult energy experience of whatever star that is. So that is a pattern. The child star is always present in us, even quote unquote when we are functioning as an adult. It's a core part of our of how we are emotionally fed, and its whole connection with the subconscious mind. Now, the dynamics between the child star and the adult star can vary from what elements they are. That's a big conversation, but it can vary. So for some people, the period from like 17 to 24 years of age could be a very volatile one with a lot of changes. For some, it can be quite smooth. So it can vary from whether the elements have a smooth connection or whether it's a more challenging connection. So that's the dynamics of the child into the adult star in the natural unfolding of who we are. So it's like we come into the period, the age of 17, 18, and we move now into the adult star experience, which is really about actualizing our self in the world, about our career or our passion with what we want to do. This then becomes the adult expression. The aspect about when the adult starts, the child star switches into the adult phase can happen, as I mentioned, child abuse, sexual abuse of the child, ritual abuse of the child. The child is you're a dumb, stupid child. The teacher's just abusing the child. They would switch to the adult expression. And at times, you realize that when you ask certain questions to the person, like this is in my work, and you ask certain things and you realize they didn't have a child star expressed in their life. They're really stuck in the adult star. And there's a lot of emotional, how best to put it, compensation that is there. There's a lot of emotional pain that is there in it. And it's worthwhile. It can take some time. It depends on what the type of trauma was, but it can take some time for them to connect back with that. Some of the conversation that we had right at the beginning with Lena was touching on that, because her child star was not honored and was ritually abused and all of that. So she was operating very much in the adult expression, which was the 9 fire, being more in athletics, wanting to be seen, different things like that. So there's that. Your question, well, am I talking to myself or are people getting what I'm talking?
Well, I don't know. I'll invite people to make comments in the chat or just open up your mic and ask a question. But I know it immediately sent my mind to wondering, by Birgit knowing these elements of her children, how she was able to support them, through this transitional time.
So shall we go to Birgit now, or shall I talk a little bit about?
Okay, let's raise her hand.
Just to go back a few steps, how does one determine what the adult star is?
It's from the year in which you were born. This is the year in which you were born has an element for it, and that element is the adult star. So the month in which you were born gives you the child star.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And there's a calendar that lists that and which element it is, etc. Yep.
That's great. I just didn't know that that's how those were related, but that's very clear. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Take a moment here. This is something that Rex referred that a lot of things are coming in the new year because it's such an in-depth information to digest. So we're working on little tools that we can add into our Facebook community, into our newsletters, things that people can access this wisdom that really a lot of people aren't sharing in today's world. I mean, Rex, you found it by chance, and you had a teacher. And there's a fascinating story with that, but nonetheless, like we're trying to make materials that you can access this information and it will be very clear. But this, Karen, is a chart that you would go and you would refer to see what year you were born in, and it has a number that's kind of color coded. Like 6 and 7 is silver, which is metal, and 3 and 4 are green, which is wood. And then, you know, we have red, the 9 star is the fire child. So it's, and water is this black one. So we'll have it's where it's more of an imagery and it's very easy to access the
And
information.
also with this chart, the year begins on the 4th of February, not the 1st of January. So it's 4th of February to the 3rd of February. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure. So if we can continue, Birgit, so how best, so like with your, yes, how best did you support, like in the case of your, of Sander, of returning him to the 8th earth? What sort of helped take him away to keep holding on to his like sweaters or his I don't know, whatever, jerseys or whatever? What was your process of moving him back to the 8th earth, a child star?
I think about Sander, I really didn't do anything. I mean, he was not like, he didn't have any tantrums. I just let him have those clothes, which he wanted to have. But with my third child, who had this 2 earth child star and 9 fire adult star, this is something you recommended, that when this tantrum starts and screaming, that I would lift the fire from one place to another. I think it really helped to calm her down, and this is something I have like done also later. That yeah, maybe Rex can explain how it works, but it helps.
Okay, so the fire with the child who is screaming and in a tantrum and all of that. And it's a waste of time telling the child to keep quiet or shut your mouth, or I mean, it just does not happen. But lifting them up and taking them out of the space, especially if you could take them out of the room to another room, it tends to cut it. To me, it's just common sense.
Okay.
No, well, I'm also need to explain it in another way, in the same way, like you see babies and they're crying and whatever, and the grandmother picks up the baby and the baby just goes, ah. I mean, it's just another quality of energy. So it's like putting them into another energy space. So in the case of her daughter, Diana, who's a 9 fire as an adult and 8 earth as a child, that, you know, like the screaming and the tantrums and whatever, which would be more the 9 aspect, to lift her up and move her into another space is like, you know, breaking the fire. It's like cutting the fire. It's like taking her off that plug and putting her somewhere else, yeah, on the earth, which is, you know, which is on another space, because she's just blazing with fire. So to put it another way, a lot of this is just really common sense observations and just being practical. And, you know, if one is really looking for some esoteric type statements around some of these things, at least I don't have, not at this stage. I mean, I'm well aware that some of what we are doing, certain revelations will happen to me and to many people from how we are approaching this and what we are listening to with people and what they're going through. But at this stage, yeah, it's very kind of common sense, and I've just, and it works, okay? It works. So.
Yes, and with
go ahead, Birgit. What else did you find that helped that you did to sort of help your children with that shift back to their child star?
Yes, and she also got this one Steiner doll with a bed and everything. She really likes to like take care of and like to give her environment where she can nourish her child star. For example, taking care of things, taking care of a doll, taking care of something else, making a space beautiful, or covering the table and cooking, helping cooking the porridge and everything. I think it's like about this two Earth child star who wants to really nourish and be kind of a
Sure.
mother-like person.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, the two Earth child star, that aspect of food, that aspect of like ceremonies with around food, you know, laying the table, putting out the plates and making sure it's all in a very in their own way, like they like to bring their own touch to it, and it's a it's a ceremony and a celebration, and caring for things or being involved with the cooking or putting out the food to Earth child star children. This is very much, you know, their ballpark. They just really have a need for that, and they have a need to be acknowledged for that, and to give them space with it too, rather than like, you know, that's leave it to me or whatever. Let them be involved in that sort of caring aspect, which is the two Earth is very much the matriarch. Be it a boy or a girl, it's very much the carer. So this is the pattern with that, and the two Earth tends to take a while. I mean, it's challenging for them with parents splitting up, and also two Earth children. It's very hard for them to be sent off to boarding schools. Boarding schools and two Earth children does not tend to work. This is what I have observed. I'm not here to cast, you know, aspersions about parents who may have done those things, but over the years with many, and I'm talking with, you know, people I've known personally, and looking at other things, times the sending a two Earth child off to a boarding school doesn't resonate with them. That somehow they want to be around their immediate family, and to have interactions with their immediate family. This is very important for them.
Yes.
Okay. And in the case of Darlene, which she didn't have much of an impact, but is that because some part of her had already sort of perceived that
She had already like told maybe a couple of years ago that we should separate, and she was like really mature for her age, I think, and she was like told that, and yes, it's finally happening, and she was like understanding and supporting.
Explain that in a context of just child star, that level at that age. I really can't. It would be unfair of me, or I'll be stretching the aspect of what the child star represents. We have to, to my eyes, we have to look at this whereby certain children come, and they come with a different aspect of their energy, which may not be in the ancestral line for a while or whatever, and they're just different. In the level of their maturity, okay, and that's another conversation. But that conversation is important to look at as regards the needs that such children would have, because at times they are ahead of their generation, or they are so sensitive to what's going on, it's very difficult for them to be in the world as it is, because of their level of sensitivity, their levels of perceptions, their levels of maturity. And you know, the reality is oftentimes those are the ones who are the big creators of artistic movements, of music, of philosophies, because of this. I'm not projecting that onto your daughter, but I'm just saying, you know, at times we have to look at some of these things in that kind of context as regards there's another level of energy beyond, you know, child star or beyond things which carries another level of, yeah, knowing of coming into this life from a past life of where they were masters of certain things. Comments? Anybody? Questions?
Well, can you just clarify, Rex, again, the daughter that you're speaking of, she's a 2 earth?
Oh, the one, the mature daughter, is that what you, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Her Darlene is a 1 water as an adult and 8 earth as a child.
8 earth as a child, okay.
Yes, so the things about the ancient stuff, the things about the myths, the things about, you know, she was curious about Zen, you know, at 12 years of age, and actually not just curious, but coming to sit. So all of that is 8 earth. I mean, it can be in other areas, but I mean, it fits very easily into the attitude of 8 earth to have that kind of level of curiosity about such old things.
I know this curiosity is deepening and this ripening in this moment. And I feel like people with all this talk may want to know, what is my child star? Because we're kind of starting to come a little full circle for some people who've been on the previous calls, because our call last week, her son, interestingly enough, like I feel like he was the head of the time and he was so sensitive. But knowing this information about child star and adult star really helped her process grief. I mean, it made it to a point where, who knows, if she didn't have that interaction or that knowingness, or like Birgit, if you didn't have that knowingness in the field, because I saw a question here in the chat, or she's wondering too, like how Birgit can nourish her own child star. And if by doing so, how does that affect the family field or the family dynamics? So I think that's all very interesting.
Okay.
I'll let Birgit, you were going to say something?
I wanted to say that I have a 4 wood child star and 6 metal as an adult. And for me, this 4 wood, which I nourish probably, which also creates another atmosphere at home. I like singing. I also sometimes just sing loud at home. And I think also my children like it when I'm singing. And yes, and communicating.
Interesting.
But I think the singing is the most, which I feel for me is the most healing one, maybe. Because this, it's really like helps me somehow express something for me.
Well, it's interesting because I have a client who's a 4 wood child that Rex was sharing, and one of the things that really helps her is to hear pleasant sounds.
Yes.
And on our call last week, we were talking about 4 wood, I believe, or even 3 wood in the wind, like feel like the sound of the wind, rustling leaves, like this sort of thing. I was just on a call today with a client who was a 4 wood, and that is like her happy spot, when she can hear things and hear pleasant music, pleasant sounds. Well, Rex, you're going to say something? I was going to take us off spotlight and maybe see if we can.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to add something which Birgit didn't mention, but which I have observed. Because in the Zazen practice, we chant at the end, and there's another level of energy in the chanting that Birgit brings to it, which is very much like with the 4 wood star. There's another energy, another level that comes in which is not quote unquote normally expressed or whatever in that space. So it's happening also in that area too, as regards like chanting, because the forward aspects with chanting, this is also a big area of nourishment for them, for the forward child star.
Yeah, yes, this I also like this chanting, and I have also felt that after this chanting I feel really good. And then you usually ask, how am I doing? And then I tell at the moment I feel good. Yes. Yeah, and also the actually forest and being in the nature, this is also something that I like, and that as the food is also connected to the trees.
Sure.
And yes.
But today with the presentation, I was mentioning about the water with the listening in the meditation, because a lot of our memories, water has a link to our memories. The work of Dr. Emoto with the Japanese gentleman scientist with the images of water, and and the memories that water have if certain things are said in front of it, or if certain types of images are presented to it over a period of time, it locks a type of a image or memory. But those things are also so within our bodies, within the fascia, within our muscles, those things carry memories. The DNA carries memories. And that whole aspect of water is connected with kidneys, and kidneys, have a lot to do with the hearing. So the listening aspect also is at another level of listening, which I mentioned in the meditation here this evening. I don't know if people have any comments to say about that meditation or where they went with that.
Well, I think maybe it helps with them going to their numbers. So if you want to take a break now, Rex, we can start with people's adult star, because I know in order to find their child star, you have to know your adult star first.
Yes, so those who don't, just if they can, tell me or type it up or whatever, I will.
Okay. Well, we have a couple people in the chat that have already entered in. I'm not sure if I can see it when I'm sharing my screen. I'm working on that now. I don't know, Sarah, if you can come on and read what they say.
Yeah, well, to start with, we've got Lynn Murphy here. So I don't know. You're still there, Lynn. That's great. So she is the 31st of October, 1959.
So, okay, so 59 is a 5, and October would be a 3. So it would be a 8 Earth as an adult and 3 Wood as a child.
So Rex, you're so speedy with the numbers. I say it would be really great just to show how you got that number. And I know we're going to learn a little bit more about it later, but just for simplicity.
All right. Okay. All right.
I'm sure people
go really slow so I can switch the screen but right now I'm on the adult star.
All right. So we're here in 1959. Okay. And 1959 is a 5 Earth year. Okay.
Does everyone see that there?
And how are we finding the 5? Take me baby steps. So we're adding.
Sure. So that's the 5. So that's 1959 because she was born at of October that year, and in 1959. So we're finding it here in the adult, in that calendar. Okay.
Okay. So now we have the 5.
We have the 5. So then October of that year is a 3 Wood year. I mean, I know that because I see these files are there in my head. I mean, just let me put it that way. So
this is also all in the book. There's a book that you wrote.
Right. So here it is. So if we come under the 5 and we come down here into October, we see 3. Okay. You see the
Okay,
three.
so everybody is clear that the adult stars are all listed at the top bar,
Right.
and you're going over to the right, to the center, to the 5, and then you're dropping down on a vertical axis, and her month is what you're looking for. And-
October 9th to November the 7th is the 3-wood month. Okay.
and it has the 3 there.
All right. So that's the 3-wood. 3-wood child star is a male child star. So the 5 earth switches to the 8 earth. So the pattern then is 8 earth as an adult and 3-wood as a child. And
You
then
may have to slow down a little bit on that one. I may, if you want me, I can. You're talking about the masculinity. Not everybody knows that there's a feminine and masculine.
all right. So in the traditional in the 9-star key system, there are 8 star numbers that have genders. You have 4 that are 4 certain element numbers are feminine, and you have 4 that are masculine. The 5 earth has no gender. That has been stated. That is how that is. And traditionally, people have used that in about the adult or the child or whatever. I have not seen that worked. I gave examples to that last week about different world global personalities with that. There's a whole chapter from my first book, which I'm going to, in fact, lift that chapter and maybe use it to just present that chapter, which shows also certain singers, certain, when you start looking at their emotional patterns, you observe you have to switch it to either the 2 earth, which is a feminine child star, or the 8 earth, which is a masculine child star. You have to like switch it to either the 2 or the 8. So that is how that works. And in the case of the 3-wood is a masculine star. 1 water is a masculine star. 6 metal is a masculine star, and 8 earth is a masculine star. So those are the 4 masculine star numbers. And then the 4 feminine star numbers are the 2 earth, the 4 wood, the 7 metal, and the 9 fire. So with the feminine star numbers, if we're dealing with the 5 earth, it switches to the 2 earth. So that is that pattern. And yeah, it's how it works. It's how you actually get an insight about the emotional dynamics of the person's life.
Do you know what, Rex? Could I ask you something? Because we'd intended this to be a breakout room and to be something. and anyway, again, the moon has changed the technical system for us. But I guess as a number 3 that loves to shout every now and again, that's where me and Lynn can we can shout in the corner and stamp our feet a bit every now and again to feel strong. I was wondering if tonight, I suppose I have this feeling that it would be lovely that if there was something that we could all do, you know, whether I may go away maybe during the week and try something out and see what works for me, how I can connect more with my star. And if there's other participants here, could just try something. And then we can make this our own and say, oh, that actually helped me, or didn't make a difference, or, you know.
Okay, for sure.
So I don't know if other people, I don't know everybody's birth date here. Maybe we've met some people before, but it'd be lovely just to know, is there something tangible? And if it's not for them, maybe something for a child or somebody they care about.
Okay, so you mean it as regards making suggestions for each sort of child star as regards something that they can engage with, do, explore? Okay,
yeah.
In that way, okay.
Something practical, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's some, you know, making it relevant in our daily lives. So for the 1 water, anyone who is a 1 water child star in the room, this is very much about connecting with water itself and how you relate with water to shift your relationship with it, that it's that you start relating with it as a companion. In other words, if you're having a shower or a bath, actually talk to the water, thank you, water. And the key aspect with water is very much about gratitude, because in the acknowledgement of the gratitude, something tends to shift as regards its presence. Something, you feel it different, you hear it different. So that cultivating that relatedness with one water would be a suggestion that I have as regards start dealing with it as a companion. The two earth, am I going too fast or go ahead?
I wasn't sure who knows what they're, how are you getting the homework done, Sarah?
Oh, I was just thinking that to really see whether we could meet the needs of the people who are on the call tonight, just to really check.
Right, but how do they know I don't know if everybody here knows what their child star number is. Do they?
Can I come in there?
Yes, is that Marion? I think.
Yeah, it's Marion. My birth date is the 4th of March, 1954. I believe I'm an 8.
Yeah, it's an 8 earth. You're 8
Yeah.
earth child star.
And the year 54 appeared
It's
to
a
be
1
1.
water. It's a
Yeah.
1 water.
Yeah, yeah. Making a decision at 5 years of age to be like one of my parents. How does that, or how would that affect either the child star and the eldest star? Or is that too far going?
It's a little bit far going, but the influence of your parents, of course, plays its part. But to get into that level of depth of because there can be many nuances of how that is and which parent was the more dominant parent. And I don't mean dominant necessarily shouting or whatever, but, as regards the
Rules.
responsibility or the focus of how it was handled.
Mhm.
So all of those things play their own parts. So yeah, for here this evening, that will be, a very deep scuba diving that I think we don't have the sort of equipment to go there this evening.
That's fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Well,
who
and I
else
think
is-
just question, Rex, I know Lynn, we know Lynn's child star. Sabine, do we know your child star?
I think she has this child star.
I think you
Yeah,
have.
Sabina
I'm a
knows.
9 fire.
Yep.
Ah. Okay, and Karen, we figured out last week because
That's
she's
a
a 4
4 wood.
wood. And then Simone, I think you know Simone.
It's a 7 metal.
Okay, and I don't know about Robert.
That's that is dealing with a 9 fire.
Yeah, perfect.
9 fire everywhere, and I'm a 6 metal, and Sarah, you're a 3
3
wood.
wood. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So okay, the 3 wood to make time, hopefully daily, whereby you can actually get quote unquote what I call sky juice, to be actually out in the open with the sky above you. If even it's raining, well, put on a raincoat or have a umbrella, but be out there and just do something which is childlike. You could hop, you could skip, you could shout or whatever, but just be with the sky juice for at least like 20 minutes every day with some spontaneous expression of your own that you do. So that would be my suggestion with the 3. The 4 would be very much one, especially at this time of year, to hum some carol. But of course, that sounds like you're getting into religious expression. I don't mean it that way, but to hum some song that you like or some particular music that you enjoy at this time of year, whatever your background is or whatever the type of music that you like, but to be humming some of that for at least about 10-15 minutes each day, you know, at some stage of the day. This will help a lot. Help is the wrong word. Sorry about that. Help is not the right word. This will facilitate a greater level of spontaneity and sense of connectedness with you and your child star. So yeah, it's in that way. Let me suggest that. The sixth metal, the textures of whatever clothing that you, before you put on, you know, as you start your day, to actually choose what you're wearing that day by literally feeling it between your fingers. You know, how does this feel for me to be wearing this today? And to be in a listening to what comes up. And with that, when that happens, when that choice is made, observe what then tends to happen that day as regards your communication, the people you meet, and also the surprises of who may call you or who haven't made contact with you for a while. It could be quite interesting thing. But come to your day as regards what am I going to wear today by by the texture of the material, of how it feels between your fingers. Okay. The seven metal in this particular period here now, creating something of beauty to your eyes. It doesn't have to be beauty to anyone's eyes, but to be to actually do something. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are actually creating something new, but it could be how you put certain items in the space where you live, how you arrange it in a way that kind of creates a deeper level of elegance for you in the room. And if there's any place in your house or where you're living or where you're working where you just feel there's kind of, it's cluttering or it's not elegant or it's not beautiful, tidy those up or just create more space with it. The eighth earth, whichever book you have been planning to read that you haven't read, to read at least 10 pages of that book daily, you know, whatever book or whatever thing you wanted to think, to spend at least going through at least 10 pages of it every day between now and the next time we meet. And the 9 fire, create some fun as regards ways of dressing or whatever, especially like if you're going anywhere, like it has a level of kind of ridiculousness, but it has a level of ridiculousness whereby you create smiles and laughter when people see it, but all in a way that it's not denigrating to you, but it's just like, oh, that's, you know, it kind of is a pleasant surprise. The visual aspect of what you've done brings a smile to the person's face, or at least a surprise. It brings a surprise. So it's like you're creating a new possibility for them as regards the day with that surprise. Those are my thoughts. Too long?
I wondered if you could repeat 2. I missed 2 and I missed 5 actually. Sorry.
Well, there's no 5. There's no 5 Earth as a child. 5 Earth is not a child star. 5 Earth either becomes the 2 or the 8 Earth. The 2 Earth is about, you know, my suggestion for the 2 Earth, and especially in this period with the holiday season, is to be looking at recipes and to cook like 2 new recipes over the next 7 days, but to actually sort of be doing some homework around recipes of things you want to cook or would like to cook for the holiday season. So yeah. Okay, I think any comments or any questions or anything? By the way, Birgit, any things you wanted to say also, because the aspect of the doula experience, were there certain things that you observed when you were, doing work as a doula, or had exposure doing some of that?
Yes, I don't know what to say. I mean, I have not done it so much. It's like a little bit of this voluntary work, which I have done from 2019 when I was going to this doula course. And yes, maybe one lady who I noticed, she had this 2 Earth child star, but she was like really, really caring, and she was all the time kind of worrying and that she does everything right and asking many questions about different things, how to take care of her baby later on, and yeah, I noticed really this nourishing aspect of her. And the child was also, if I remember right, was 2 Earth. And yes.
So
Yeah,
she was more
I don't know.
interested as regards how best to look after her child.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is something which I noticed that she was, and which I have also noticed with some of my clients who have come to massage therapy when they have this 2 Earth child star. And this one lady who was already, all her 4 children were adults, but she told that she's all the time worrying about them and kind of wanting to take care of them. And she told us she should maybe release them already. But it's like it stays so strong inside, for example.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, the aspect with the 2 Earths being the mother, the matriarch, you tend to find those sorts of responses of the attachment to their responsibility of caring is very profound. No question about it. Yeah. And even with guys who carry that the 2 Earth quality, you often find that things around food, the quality of food, and how it's cooked and whatever, they tend to have an interest, or can have strong viewpoints about some of those things. Yeah.
Yes, this is I have also noticed with a few people who I know who have this 2 Earth child star, and it's so much about this food and how the food is made, and they can also be a bit picky about the food, and it really needs to be like look also beautiful and taste good. And the look of the food is also important here, because one of my friends who has this 2 Earth child, when I made a food for him, he told it looks like a dog food, that it should be separate and it should be like this and this and this, and I had mixed everything together. Like, yes, it was funny to notice.
Yes, so I guess what we are learning, or what we are observing, that with the 2 Earth child star, the aspect of food, how it is presented, and how it tastes, all of these things are key factors for them. Thank you. Yes, questions from anyone or comments? I mean, there's so many directions, I can head off in, but
I have a special request here, actually, because if Lynn doesn't mind me saying, it's a very special night for their family. She may like to explain, or you may not, but there's a request here to find out her husband's star child as well. And do you want to come on, Lynn, and ask that directly, or there's time if you want to just ask the question yourself? and
Yeah,
explain why it's a special night, if you like.
Yeah, it's a special night in this household. It's a full moon, which is extraordinary. But it's the 7th week, the 49th night since my father-in-law passed. So Dilwyn's father. I was just asking for his birth date. And yeah, it's been an extraordinary journey this year, taking him through moving towards death at 93. But the whole, it'd take quite a while to explain this story, but the significance of it being a full moon is connected then to Dilwyn's father's father, who, so Leslie Marshall Smith died 7 weeks ago, but his father, Marshall Smith, had a relationship with the moon that was very powerful, and that he couldn't, he'd go a bit out of control on the full moon. And he was born a gypsy in a caravan, and then married and left that life. So we always think that was wrapped up in that. So there was a lot of disconnection and problems in the family. But we recently, this past year, isn't it, does a massive healing with a friend of ours, Kate, about Marshall. And this full moon, we didn't even know it was a full moon when we were in this room doing it. And then this moon just appeared from behind the clouds, and we realized it was a full moon. And we've been explaining to her about him. So we just think there's a significance that Leslie, his son, it's his 49th night on the night of this full moon, where we feel there's like a healing going on with his father. And in turn, I think that's all very healing for Dilwyn, who's also interestingly a twin. So he was wondering, he's sitting here actually, and he's been making food. Wonder if that makes any difference. He's an interesting person himself, so I've just become a little fascinated as well to wonder why.
And his birthday is, when is his birthday?
But he's the 8th of Jan, so that's the whole February thing you were saying. And he was born in 1958.
Okay, so your husband's birthday is the 8th of January, 1958. Yep. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so we're dealing with the influence of 1957, which is a 7-metal star year. And then we are dealing with a 6 metal child star. So the 6 metal child star is a child star, and the adult star is the 7 metal. So the whole kinesthetic aspect is of major importance in what is so for him. Plus also the 6 metal child star is very much connected with the father. The 6 metal child star has a lot, energetically, it connects a lot with the father, whereas like the 2 earth Earth star has a lot to do with the mother, but the 6 metal child star connects a lot with the father. And here this evening, we're going quite deep with this part of the conversation because I'm bringing in other areas of the dynamics of the system. It's a 2 Earth. Today is the last day of we're coming into the last period of the 2 Earth for the month. And the 6 and the 7 is like opposite each other. It's like in north and in south. And so there's a lot of symbolism surrounding, energetic symbolism that is surrounding this particular evening for him. Lynn, I mean, where can we go? We can go so many directions, but some of it is sort of, it's really off planet where we would then end up with some of this dialogue. But the aspect of the kinesthetic aspect of the evening and how I started the meditation with the listening from the skin and listening with the water and the purification with the toxicity emotionally or mentally. I mean, this is like hearing who you're mentioning now, your husband. I mean, I'm really like talking to him the whole evening, although, I didn't know him, because all of that I would think for him would have a deeper resonance, plus also the grief experience of whatever with that other level of listening. Because in a way, listening has a lot to do down into the ancestral line in the sense of it's connected with kidneys, and kidneys have a lot to do with the ears, and etc. etc. Let me be quiet and hear what else comes up. Are you all there, or did I lose your?
Did you want us to respond?
Yeah, well, just whatever. I mean, I don't have anything more to say about that.
Exactly.
I mean,
No, that was I think really. You want to speak? Fascinating.
Well,
without saying too much.
it's been fascinating to listen, and to say in terms of the water that each morning I go swimming in Hampstead Pond up the road here, and it's getting cold these days, and it's very healing these days. And I've this morning is the coldest it's been. It's 6.3 degrees, but it is a cleansing experience. And with the nature of the year, how it's been quite dramatic and traumatic, and so thank you. I've also I've read the book by Emma Motter. I've read his book, and I made some work about the memory of water too. Like across some years, I've worked. So thank you all. Anyway, but it's been amazing, and I'm very moved. I'm very moved to hear this, and I know the potency of what you're doing. I feel the potency of all of your discussions and your life. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Plus, I'm also familiar with the Hampstead Pond because when I was living in London, I also jumped into it in winter time, and I had an altered state experience. I remember one morning with like a flashback to a friend in Trinidad, and yeah, it was an altered state experience with that. The Hampstead Pond and that water and the cool in this time of year, yeah, magical things can occur there. And for that to be part of quote unquote your ritual that you're engaging with and all of that, I think more doors will open for you with your communication to the other side. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's time to announce that next week who I'll be chatting with and all of that, unless Christiana, you had something you wanted to say before I do that.
No, I was just noticing Sarah's comment here on the thread that I wonder on this special evening, is there some symbol we can be with as a group?
Uh-huh.
And I mean special evening being this really big full moon before the winter solstice.
I think the symbol that we can be with, because we still in the last period of the two earth symbol, to just put it up and send it out to everyone who is on the call, the Loshu circle of the two earths, and to yeah, to engage with that, or to have your eyes rest on that at times during the day can be an interesting one, without having to get into like reasons about why and how, just to feel what that visual aspect of the two earths is doing to you, or not doing to you, but is creating for you or opening up for you. So yeah. That, at least that's the thought that comes to me. Or what comes to you, Sarah or Christiana?
I was looking for the circle.
Okay. No, I have it, and I can send it to you, and you send it out.
Yeah, I was just figuring out which
I mean,
hold.
really, it's just I'm finding a joy in hearing people's voices,
Okay.
and that in itself, I'm feeling more of a circle amongst us that brings me joy.
Okay,
Wow.
wonderful.
Well, here's
Yeah,
a
okay, there it is. There it is. So just be with that symbol. Allow it to talk to you, and
chill bumps.
yeah, and see what comes up for you. It's very powerful, by the way. I mean, do not underestimate the potency of this symbol. But my view, it carries a healing energy. All of them, those patterns carry a healing energy. And for sure, that statement is pseudoscientific. I'm putting my hands up for that. But feeling-wise and experientially, yeah, it does have an impact on your being. So shall we close off now, Christiana?
Yes, you tell us about next week, our last
Sure.
call before we take a break, while we write some content that is easily accessible and augments the books that you've already written. And as we move into the new year. So what are we in store for next week, Rex?
Certainly. So next week, Miss Duisman from Tübingen, Germany, she is a practicing midwife, and I'm going to be chatting with her about her work with the pioneers or the key people globally who she has studied with as regards bonding analysis. And, there's Geno Rafai, the Hungarian gentleman. He passed on, I think, about 6 years ago or 5 years ago. And then there's a professor, Dr. Ludwig Janus. What is interesting about these two gentlemen, because Bettina mentioned this to me, is that they carry the 2-Earth child star. And their whole focus is about the birth experience and the pregnancy ceremony as regards a mother and the child. And so she did like 2 years study with them and different observations she has had about how they presented things. And that besides her work as a midwife and what she has observed with babies and mothers with around the child star. So I was pleasantly surprised when she mentioned that to me as regards that they are both 2-Earth. They both carry 2-Earth child star, and they are, I think, they are the Moses in the whole field of bonding analysis and the pregnancy experience of mother and child bonding. So yeah. So anyway, next week, that's what my chat will be about, and I think, as everyone here have realized, each time it's very different for me, and each time new experiences are happening for me. And I really want to say to everyone that being present here with what we are doing is a healing experience. And I say that with no exaggeration, it really is. And give yourself permission to allow that to be, rather than to be just like, a voyeur, just an observer with, that's interesting, or that's interesting. To just allow yourself to feel. So thank you very much. And Christiana and Sarah and Birgit, thank you very much for as regards being at the source of us having this chat this evening. Thank you.